All right. So before we jump in, one thing I want to say, if you have questions pertaining to the slide we're on, feel free to ask after I finish presenting the slide. But if it's not pertaining to the slide we're covering, we might get to it in one of the next ones coming up. So hold off. If I don't cover something, feel free to ask at the end, but don't jump the gun on me. All right. But that being said, we're going to talk about protein, my favorite macronutrient. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you guys real quick. Up and running. What you laughing at, Kat?
Oh, just your amazing picture, Eric.
Look at that beautiful mug.
This is great.
This is when I had less hair on my head and a little bit more on my face. So
I dig it, dude. I dig it.
But yes, for those of you that don't know me, I am Coach Jonathan. One of the
Jonathan looks like he's straight out the job fair.
I'm not, though. I've been doing this for almost 13 years now, surprisingly. But yeah, so if any of you have questions about me and my background, feel free to ask that at the end as well. But I've been with Body Ops for, I don't know, 2 months now. We're killing it. Everything's having fun. But I've been a trainer for 12 years, going on 13, and kind of keep on going. So that being said, we're going to jump right in. So today's topic, protein, right? What is protein? So for anyone who doesn't know, if you haven't taken a biology class or anything, protein is pretty much utilized in every single cell inside your body. So there's reasons we need a lot of protein in your diets. So for those of you who are struggling to get your protein in, I know it's tough, but we need it, especially because we're exercising the way that we are. Everyone's training pretty hard, right? So break it down a little bit more. Protein is essentially made up of amino acids, right? Little chains of things that your bodies use on a cellular level. You may have heard of branched chain amino acids, something we'll cover in the next slide, but pretty much those make up big protein chains. So the reason that we need so much damn protein, and the reason most of you are struggling, is because our bodies are constantly breaking down cells, and when we exercise, we're breaking down larger muscle groups, right? So we need amino acids, which we get from breaking down protein, to repair those muscles or those cells and to repair muscles after a workout, right? So your protein intake is so high because it's been proven time and time again that we need a minimum mandatory protein of around 0.7 grams per pound of body weight, up to about maximum of 1.5 grams per pound of body weight. Somewhere in that range is our happy point. And then when I say a minimum, that's like we're just scraping by on the minimum to make sure your body's not breaking down more muscle whenever we're in a calorie deficit. Because if we're not feeding yourself enough, we have to make sure we're eating enough protein to minimize the breakdown for the recovery process, right? So we have to make sure we're hitting that minimum 0.7 grams. Most of you are going to be closer to about a gram per pound of your body weight, because that's really our happy point when it comes to exercising the way that we are. So if you're struggling to get your protein in, everyone does it. You're going to figure it out eventually. Your stomach will get used to it. And honestly, it's going to be one of the things that makes a huge difference in your success going forward, right? Now, anytime that we're in a muscle building phase, we're in an excess of calories. We still want to make sure our protein is high, but we want to be somewhere between that 1 gram per pound up to like 1.5 grams. Anything more than that, your body really isn't going to use for anything substantial. It's just going to be extra calories that'll eventually get stored as body fat if we're over your calories by too much. So we want to aim for that 1 gram per pound to 1.5 when we're trying to rebuild our muscles, because like I said earlier, every single time that we exercise, we're breaking down muscles and we're utilizing protein on a scale, like on the cellular level. So we're trying to replace those cells and we're trying to replenish your muscles, because every time we train, we have little tears that we have to recover, right? So yeah, I know it's pretty basic, but before we move on, any questions on this kind of broad overview of what protein is? Nope. Cool. Moving on. Awesome. So for those of you who are struggling to get in your protein, you can revert back or look back at our suggested foods list. There's tons of things in there you can look at and see for our recommended protein sources. But most of the time, we want to make sure a vast portion of our daily protein is coming from food. We can supplement with protein when we need it. If we can't make it up, meaning supplement with protein powder when we can't get it from animal products, or if you're vegan and you're trying to get things like a pea protein, things like that, you're going to struggle, right? But ideally, we want as much of it to come from natural food sources as possible. So for most of us, we're going to be eating lean poultry like chicken, turkey, whitefish. You can go for other cuts of fish, such as salmon. They have high protein, but you have to be aware there's high fat. And then when we look at lean cuts of pork and beef, we have to be very cautious with which one you buy, because again, they have a much higher fat content with that protein, right? You're still going to have an excess of protein, but it's going to be more fat per serving than if you were to eat turkey breast or chicken breast, the go-to kind of bodybuilder diet, right? A wonk coming in. A monk, where you at? Sorry, letting people in here right now. All right, welcome to everyone that just came in. Just for your reference, we are recording this, so we can always get it shared to you afterwards. Now, if you are vegetarian or vegan, a lot of times we're going to be getting most of your protein from some kind of supplement, simply because the foods that are high in protein that are vegan or vegetarian are equally high in either fat or carbs, right? Such as seitan and tofu, they're about 50-50 in terms of carbs and protein, almost equivalent, right? When we look at legumes and nuts, legumes will have a little bit more protein to carbs and fiber. Nuts are going to be more fat than protein. So don't look at nuts or nut butters as a protein source. I want you to look at it as a fat source that has some protein with it. Now, for those of you struggling to hit your calories in general, nuts and peanut butters or nut butters are wonderful because, again, they're protein and fats, but they're going to be higher fat content than they are protein content. So be aware of that. Other things such as quinoa and wild rice, again, higher starches or higher carb content, as well as having some protein. But if you're going the vegetarian or vegan route, you are without a doubt going to have to supplement your protein intake in some way, whether it be a pea protein or a collagen protein, but I think collagen is considered a animal protein. I'm not exactly sure, but you're not going to be able to get enough of your protein intake without going drastically over on your fats or your carbs. So be aware of that. And if you're struggling, reach out to your coach and we'll help you figure out a good way to move forward with that. All right.
Can I add one thing real quick?
Go for it.
I was just going to say, just even reverting back to what Jonathan was talking about. So obviously in general, like your guys' diet, we want it to consist as much of natural food as we can, but also take into consideration, like your training goals and your fitness goals. Like we have some people in here that are actually not losing weight, but actually trying to gain weight and put on muscle. And for those individuals, or for you individuals that really your calories aren't that high yet, but you're struggling to meet your calories, that's where sometimes those fattier pieces of meat can actually be more beneficial for you. So if you find like, gosh, I'm really full all the time, like I'm trying to eat my food, but I'm really full, and your coaches are just keep harping on you to eat more and more, to basically keep eating more food, and you're just extremely full, that's when, like Jonathan was saying, even with the nuts, but also even with the choices of meat and stuff that you're cooking, typically those fattier cuts of meat are also more appetizing anyways, right? Ribs, steaks, ribeyes, all that stuff. Those are usually the big pieces of meat that everybody like drools over. Those are also because they're higher calorie and have more fat. So if you do struggle with your calories, you can also at those times feel free to implement a little bit more of those fattier choices of meats and stuff too, or whole eggs compared to egg whites and stuff like that. So, but
exactly.
Anyways,
yeah. For example, generally speaking, I tend to eat lower carbs on days I don't train. So I tend to eat red meat on those days because I want a higher fat content and I want to hit my protein, right? So definitely, if you're struggling with your food, trying to get your calories in, don't shy away from red meat. I know there's a lot of drama out there about eating red meat, cholesterol. Unless you have cholesterol issues or your high lipid content, this is something that you can go with, and then just if you happen to deal with that or have to address it later, you can. But keep that in mind. Any questions on protein sources, foods? Anyone have a favorite food they want to recommend? Sirloin steaks is mine. I eat it for breakfast most of the time, like 3 months in a row, probably.
I got the hack and being in the middle of nowhere, Montana. So I would say any and all wild game.
Nice. That's what I wish I could get here. Michael, I saw your hand come up. What you got for me?
Yeah, turkey sandwiches always go-to for me. Spinach, I mean, it doesn't have that much protein, but like tonight, I just had like 132 grams of spinach because I had some left over, and so stuff like that. Turkey and substitute for beef if you're trying to go lean is really good too. So.
Who else is hand? Oh, Matt's coming in. Hey, what's up, Matt? All right. Someone help me out here. How do I see who's always raising their hand? I just had
I
two
think
people raise
Bama's
their
got
hand.
her hand up too.
Oh, there you are. What you got from
Is
me,
that
Bama?
right, Bama?
Yeah, I was just going to say there actually is a vegan collagen powder that I use that I'd highly recommend. I don't know if you want to throw the camera over, I can hold it up. But it says, where is it? No hooves, no horns, no hides. So it's Sun Warrior collagen.
Sun Warrior. Cool.
Sunwear. Okay. Can you put that in the chat? The name of it?
Sure thing. You bet. I can
Awesome,
hold it
thank
up
you.
at the end too.
That'll work too. Awesome. Yeah, and I wish I had wild game down here. It's just hard to get in Texas, surprisingly. All right.
Gotta hit up Logan.
Yep, get with me. I'll set you up.
Definitely then. Yeah, if you got a good source for me, for sure, man. I'm missing out. All right. So right back on the topic of protein supplementation. So as we mentioned before, we always want to try to get as much of our calories from food, like actually eating your food, as we can. But whenever you just need it, if we're not hitting the calories, we're not hitting your protein, don't shy away from a protein supplement. It can definitely help you, whether your goal is to lose weight, right? The whey proteins are kind of used a lot to get your metabolism moving in the morning. They can break down in your system 30 to 45 minutes. So a lot of times it's recommended to down a protein shake, a whey protein shake in the morning. Metabolism gets going. You have some protein in the morning to start your day, and everything goes smoothly from there. Now, I'm going to kind of talk about different types as we did before. The main two I like to kind of highlight here are the difference in whey protein and casein protein. This is one that surprisingly, a lot of times whenever I have clients show me their proteins, they're eating either a blend or they're eating a casein protein. Now, casein proteins aren't bad, but just know that they're better for people who are trying to go a longer period of time without eating, or they know they're not going to be able to. Commonly in bodybuilding, it's used for overnight, but it takes about 6 hours to digest in your system. So a blend isn't terrible, but if you know you're going a long period of time without food, definitely look into a casein protein. It's not lower quality or anything like that, just has a different mechanism that's broken down in the body and takes longer, right? That's the main thing. Whey protein is going to be your dominant lactose protein for most people. You can find different types. Obviously, you can get a grass-fed whey, things like that, because it's mostly made from milk proteins from cows. You can get goat whey protein. I've seen that. A lot of those come in from, honestly, New Zealand, which is surprising, and Canada. And then the next one that's kind of extremely popular, as Bam, I just showed you, the collagen protein. They have some other benefits than just being a protein source. You get more collagen in your system, which is, supposed to be good for helping with connective tissue, scar tissue, things like that. There's a long list of things that it's good for that I don't remember or know about. So if you're interested in collagen protein, either Google it or I'll Google it for you when you ask me about it later. But most of the time, if you're looking at vegan options, we're going to be doing pea protein. It just tends to be what most places are going to hold and sell. You can find other options as well, but most of the time, if it's a vegan option, we're going for pea. And then the latest thing I've seen on the market, which is actually pretty damn cool, is there's companies coming out with whole meat animal proteins, right? Made from liver, kidney, like made from the organ meat. Some are made from the actual not byproducts, but the actual meat of like different cuts of steak or things like that. It's pretty dope. I've honestly been kind of messing around with those, and they taste a little off because I'm so used to whey protein, but I actually like it. And you don't get the protein farts, the best benefit.
Have you had the brand MRE?
Yeah, that's the only one I've tried so far.
Yeah, they do like most of them are made from like beef protein or chicken protein, so that they're dairy free. But yeah.
Yeah, because I'm lactose intolerant, but I still down whey protein like
Yeah.
3 or 4 times a day sometimes.
One other thing I was going to mention is for anybody that like you don't have a huge issue with dairy. I've had just a couple people that like they don't do really well with dairy, but they have it sometimes. Whey isolate technically has less lactose than like a whey concentrate protein, which is probably getting too much in depth. But if you want something that has far less lactose in it and is still a whey source because they're easier to find, a whey isolate actually it's just ultra filtered, so there's less lactose that is actually in the protein itself. So
Can I piggyback for a second, Jonathan?
Bring it in, Kat.
Yeah, so exactly what Walker was talking about with that, your isolate too, those peptide bonds, they're broken down differently. And that's where that whey concentrate, some people that do have issues like that, they can go the isolate whey, that'll be easier to digest. And then the hydrolase, think like baby formula, that's what's found in the baby formula is that hydrolase. So struggling to have issues, if you're struggling with stomach issues, maybe even that hydrolase whey will help you in terms of that whey protein.
Awesome. Andy, what you got for me, man?
Yeah, I just want to kind of just chime in a little bit, regarding your thing about like the organ meats. I think that's really fascinating because it's really not that common just with digesting wise just as an organ, but I'm just curious about the protein, like deriving protein powder from, because one of the things I know, especially for liver, the issue is that also the liver has a lot of iron in it. So I was just going to kind of let people know that with organ meats, just be a little careful, especially for the guys, because guys tend to have a higher hemoglobin and because they just guys and being younger too, so just beware. I think especially liver has a lot of iron, so it's just especially just kind of be careful with that, so.
Walker, can't hear you.
I said Andy's our doctor, so he's watching out for everybody.
Yeah, blood doctor,
Appreciate
blood
it.
and cancer doctor. So
Yeah.
I just think about that because people who have any kind of iron disorders, which probably isn't a lot of people, but it's just you don't want to overdo that on the iron too. So and I think about the organ meats. So yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that because I'm one of those people with extremely high iron content in my blood. So I avoid organ meat.
Well, all I know is that most of the American stuff that we have out here is imported and super expensive.
Out there in are you on base in Kuwait, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just talking to someone yesterday about that.
Living the dream. Nightmares and dreams too, man.
But yeah, so biggest thing too, a lot of you, if you haven't taken amino acids are essentially, like we talked about earlier, they're a broken down form of protein. So branched chain amino acids are pretty common, pretty popular. The best use is generally going to be during your workouts because it's a more readily available source of amino acids to replenish both your muscles and your body cells on a more cellular level. So big thing, someone asked me earlier today about their amino acids, and he was specifically asking about when he should take them, training days, non-training days, things like that. And again, I'll recommend always, I think you should take them during your training if you're going to. They're not a mandatory thing, but they are one of the few supplements that make an immediate difference when you take it while you're training. You can actually feel yourself maybe a little bit more energized, you feel a little bit better, but it's mostly going to help you in your recovery process so that you don't get quite as sore and you actually don't lose as much muscle mass per se as you would have if you didn't have it, right? Again, it's on a small scale. Now, that being said, if you like the way they taste, feel free to drink them outside of a workout. But quite honestly, in my opinion, it's a waste of a supplement if you're taking it just to drink it later on. Just get something else, in my opinion. But don't shy away from branched chain amino acids. They're a wonderful thing you can supplement with. But before we jump into the next slide, are there any questions from anybody about anything protein related? Nope. Everybody's got it down, all the basics. I didn't drive into too much detail, so I just want to make sure everybody understands why we have your protein content so high in your diet plans now. Okay, show of hands. Anybody struggling to hit their protein on a daily basis?
Better
Yeah,
be a few
Louis?
hand raises in there.
Yeah, I'm looking for them. All right, Louis, talk to me. What do you feel like is your biggest issue when it comes to getting in your protein?
How do I
Say again?
can you hear me?
Can now?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I barely know how to use this app.
No worries, man. So what do you feel like
Uh,
is your biggest hang up when you're trying to hit your protein?
Well, my biggest hang up is getting to my protein level, period, if that makes any sense.
Okay. Are you doing it solely just from food? Are you taking any supplements, anything outside of that?
Well, I am eating frozen meals, which I know I shouldn't have, but I am trying to get up to the protein level that I should be taking. I weigh 180 pounds, so I just want to know like where exactly. I know I think I should be like between 35, 50 grams per meal, but my question was, can I just take like protein shakes, like supplement those grams with just
Yeah. I mean, honestly, you can. If you're struggling to get to your protein and you're eating protein at every meal already, I know with frozen meals and
I'm
things,
not
it's going to
eating
be.
I'm not eating as much protein as I should.
Yeah, I
but-
mean, you're eating pre-prepared meals and things. So if you're not the one preparing them, you're kind of stuck at the mercy of what you purchase. You can always try to find higher protein content, or you can try to add stuff to it, right? So let's say you're eating a frozen meal, whatever it may be, it has whatever amount of protein in
It
it,
has like
but
14 to 22 grams.
okay, and let's say that you need to get, like you said, 35, right? So you're missing like 20 grams of protein, right? You can supplement that with either a protein shake, easy peasy, down it, you're good to go. Or you can have something, generally I wouldn't say a protein bar, but if you want to add more protein to it, like an extra meat, have something on the side, whether it be deli meat, simple and easy. Like I used to eat, I think when I was in college, I ate more deli meat and rotisserie chickens than anyone I knew. It's all the time. Those are good options, but ideally, yeah,
Right.
if whatever works better for you, if you're just trying to hit the protein goal, don't shy away from you supplementing, ideally you're not having like 5 protein shakes a day, right? But
Yeah,
we do want to,
my main question is, does it matter if it's like a solid food or a shake?
no, I mean, you could do a shake, solid food. You could even go with like Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, things like that,
Okay.
right? They're high
All right.
protein or, yeah, I mean, that's always good stuff, right? If you're even
Okay.
trying to get it brutally high, you can take a protein shake, throw it in a blender, or just throw in a scoop of cottage
Yeah, I have
cheese.
I have
or
a
scoop
blender. I
of-
have one of those, you put the cup in the thing and it shakes it for you. And my personal choice is I prefer shakes, because I'm always on
Mhm.
the go. Like, now I'm not always on the go, but I don't like to sit down for meals. I'm more of a drink it type of guy.
So you just want it down quick then.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not trying to sit down and have a meal. I'm just like, okay, make it and then drink it. 10, 15 minutes later, I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah, go for it. I mean, in an ideal perfect world, we're getting most of our calories and most of our protein and things from Whole Foods, but most of us don't live in an ideal world. We have outside circumstances and things that we just have to do what we need to do, right? So you can grab a shake, you can spike your shake with extra things like we talked about, cottage cheese, Greek yogurt's easy peasy, peanut butter, higher if you're looking for higher fat and some protein in there. Plus it makes it taste better. Yeah, by all means, feel free. Throw down
All right,
some
well-
shakes or two,
Thanks for the info.
Yes, sir. And who is your coach in here?
Cat.
Kat, do you have any outside anything we didn't talk about that you might want to tell him? If not, no
What?
biggie.
No, because we had hopped on a phone call earlier today and we talked
Perfect.
about,
Got it. All right, Logan, what you got for me?
Let me unmute it. Same thing. I struggle to hit that protein, but I feel like I'll go and I'll hit to eat the protein, but I'll bust the calories. So it's kind of finding that balance between something that's sufficient in protein, but low enough in calories where I'm not going over.
Okay, what is
So
your
usually my
main
protein's
protein
pretty low.
source? Like, what are you
Uh,
eating for your protein in your diet?
Chicken, beef, pork, venison. I had pheasant last night. I eat a lot of wild game. I hunt and fish a bunch. So
So, I mean,
So-
most of that is pretty low in fat from the sound of it. So what do you
I was
feel
gonna
like is
say-
putting you over?
I don't know, really. I mean, I do protein shakes in the morning with my coffee. I cooked HelloFresh for my meals for dinner.
Mhm.
that right there.
That's what I was gonna
Cool.
say, yeah.
Yeah.
So your HelloFresh, the only issue that you run into is they're meant to be very palatable meals. So they're typically very high in fat. Whether it be there's butter in them, oil, whatever else. So that's where a lot of your calories are coming in at, which I know you bought them for the sake of being like ideal, because then you don't have to like sit there and think about what you want to create and stuff. But I think with HelloFresh, you can actually change the type of meal you're getting to where some are like low fat, some are keto or whatever, you know.
Yeah, I started
that would-
figuring some of that how to do it. I know it's the app is horrible. Getting on the computer and doing it's a lot easier. I've been able
Yeah.
to go through it and adjust
So
some.
that would be the like, just because I work with Logan, that's why I'm chiming in. I was gonna say
Yeah.
my biggest suggestion would be to change the source of your HelloFresh, because I don't know exactly how it works, whether they give you like these meals will be around this amount of calories or whatever, but changing basically the type of HelloFresh meals that you're receiving so that you're getting those leaner, healthier options of the HelloFresh instead of them taking up, 1,200 calories in a single meal.
Yeah, if I go to the grocery store, I'll buy chicken breast, pork loin, steaks, and I'll eat some vegetables, or it's just bland.
Yeah.
I'm not a chef. I know how to cook with a campfire and do that at the house. Ain't that easy.
I feel you. Yeah. So another option too, like all the foods you're choosing and you're cooking, whether it be something you're hunting yourself or buying, they're fairly low in fat content. So if the things are putting you over on fats, don't be scared of like lowering your carbs a little bit to just not go over your calories. Like you can kind of lower things as you need to. The main thing we want to do is make sure your protein is close to being met or met if you can. The other two macronutrients are only really important when it comes to trying to balance energy levels. And if you're feeling good, feel free to switch them up as you need to, right? Like, let's say you're having a higher fat meal, just take out some of the carbs from something else on the line and you can make it all balance out. That's kind of the main way that I want you to, or I'm trying to teach people to approach this whole macro planning and tracking your calories this way is you can make just about anything fit, but you have to sacrifice something somewhere to make it fit. Right.
That
So-
makes sense.
Yeah. So like if you know like you're high on your fats, then bring down those carbs or something, right? The biggest thing is you want to try not to sacrifice your protein.
Gotcha. I appreciate
Louis.
it. Thank you.
Louis, if you go over your protein, it really doesn't matter unless you're substantially over your calorie targets. If you're too high over, you're just going to end up storing anything excess as body fat. It's not going to get utilized in any additional way. But if you're just slightly over and you're under calories or you're right around your calories, give or take like 100, you're totally fine. It's not a huge deal if you go over your protein. Jacob, you got your hand up. What's up, man?
All right. So, I mean, I'm just going to put it out there. Well, Walker, this is mainly directed towards you. I know we've talked about it, but it's out in the open. So, I stick to about 6 ounces of chicken breast and I eat 2 meals a day, 6 days a week. And I'm sitting right around, I'd say probably about, I don't know, Walker, was it like 1950 or something like that? And I'm just trying to make sure that I'm getting enough. Although, like, I'm not being super active because of my job. So like, I don't want to overeat and then not be able to work it off. I'm just trying to find that happy medium where like I can eat enough and knowing that like I do a couple workouts on shift and everything's cool. Like I won't be like storing that excess fat in order to like maintain myself throughout the week. So I don't know if you got tips for that. I know it's kind of a weird situation, but that's just been like replaying in my head.
You want me to
So,
answer this,
yeah.
Jonathan, really quick, just because he's
Yeah,
in
if
the
you got
call?
one for it, yeah. I mean, I
I
have
was
some
just gonna
for you.
say, so without, so just knowing your body weight, you being at 1950 calories, there's no way, even if you didn't do a single thing, like except for lay in bed all day, that you're overeating. And that's just based on the scientific principle of, you know, based on your weight and where your body's BMR should be, you're already under what that should be. So essentially, as your weight plateaus, what we'll do is we'll continue to basically drop you from 1950 and take that lower and lower. But at 1950, I mean, as long as it's accurate, there's almost no way that you're overeating, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I actually I mean, hate to break it to you like this, but I kind of already lowered them and just kind of see where the weight shifted. And I mean, I'm kind of seeing a little bit of a difference. I mean, it's only been probably about a week or so, but we're just kind of figuring it out. So if you want me to go back, then I can.
No, you're fine. And we can chat a little bit more about that too, but yeah,
Okay.
just for the
Yeah,
sake of this call and it already being 6:45. But
Yeah, just as you hit on it, Jacob. I mean, same thing Walker was saying. Pretty much what you're going to do is set your calories and monitor and see how you change, and then change them or keep them. That's just kind of the whole process that we're working on, seeing how your body reacts to the calories, knowing what you're doing, right? That's why accurately measuring and tracking things is super important, because if we're guesstimating and just assuming your calories and portion sizes, then us as coaches don't really know where to take you. If we assume you're doing everything as we are, then we look at what we have to do. Like, okay, we have to drop your calories, or we have to get you more active, or both, right? So if you're inaccurately tracking, it's pretty hard to know how to suggest things, because we might be like, okay, we made a suggestion, but shit, that's not working. So yeah.
Yeah, so like all my meals are literally the same. So I mean, hate on it if you will, but out here there's literally like no time to like even cook, except for one day a week. And you know, like me being me, I just don't like my meals sitting for that long. So my typical thing is so I get like 12, well, I get 12 meals a week, which so 6 meals every 3 days. And I've just been kind of like storing them away and you know, eating them, because like recently, like I haven't been like that hungry at all. But I'm just like not forcing myself to eat, but it's like one of those things where it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I might want to eat this or else I'm gonna like regret it later. But I don't know. I mean, I've just been like doing the meal prep and stuff like that. And yeah, honestly, it's getting to a point where like I'm narrowing myself down to like 1.5 to 1 meal per day. And then just seeing like what's going on, because like obviously everyone has the cheat day theory. So I mean, I try to stay away from that, but I'm typically eating those 2 meals on my off day. So like every Saturday I'm eating those 2 meals or whatever I have left, and I throw the rest out, because I mean, I can't, it goes bad after it sits in the fridge for a couple of days. So like, I mean, that's just kind of how I'm doing it right now.
Yeah. So another way to think about it is thinking about your calories on a weekly basis as like a budget. Because if we're aiming, let's say your coach set you at what he's aiming for is a pound of weight loss a week, right? That means your weekly deficit is around 3,500 calories. So let's say 1 or 2 days you go over 200 calories. So now you've taken away 400 calories out of that budget. You still have 3,100 calories going towards your weight loss. So it'll slow down, but it'll still happen. So anytime you go over, you can balance it out, or just know that your weight loss is going, or weight gain is going to slow down. But you can also balance it out, meaning if you have days where you're way under, you can try to go up on other days and kind of bring your calories, your deficit back to where we want it to be, wherever your coach has you set at, right? So Easiest way to do that, just as you said, if you know that you have 2 days that you're going to be over, you can do some, we get with your coach, we're like, okay, we're planning for Saturday, Sunday, your calories are going to be 2,100. Every other day, your calories are going to be 1,750, something like that, right? But that's going to be something that you and Walker can set up.
Honestly, letting your coach know.
Yeah, let us know everything like that.
Hey man, it's been a wild week, man.
Yeah.
All right.
But
Anyways,
I mean,
Jonathan.
Yeah.
I mean, hold on, one last thing. So, I mean, also like to add on to that, I mean, I don't really care, but I'm just gonna put it out there. So, like initially when I came out here, I did drink a lot, and I don't anymore because obviously dry country and all that good stuff. But I came out here at like 273, and I'm already down to like 253. So, like within that 3-month span, I mean, I ran better than like most of the people there at like 270 and still ran 15 flat mile. And I don't understand how people can be skinnier and like not be able to run, you know, especially when they're smokers. But yeah, no, like I just been like hanging out, doing my thing, and trying to see where I can get my weight. That's kind of why I'm trying to fluctuate, because I keep seeing that plateau, and I've been at this weight for like 2 weeks straight. So I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, best thing to do is get with Walker and figure out where your plan's at, what you've been doing if it's not what the plan already said, and then figure out where to make adjustments. Like I said, it all comes down to accurate tracking and measurement so that we know how to change stuff. And that's what we're here for. Lean on us as coaches as much as you need, man. Because if we don't know there's a problem and we see on paper things look okay, or you're not talking to us, we don't know to reach out and fix things or try to help correct stuff. So for all of you out there, lean on us as much or as little as you need. Right. And this is a perfect example, Jacob. I would definitely say just get with Walker, and y'all, that could be something y'all could figure out. It doesn't seem like it'd be too much of an issue, to be honest.
Well, luckily we have that nice heart-to-heart conversation, Walker,
There you
on
go.
Friday.
Yes,
Um,
we do.
Louis, I just want to touch on the point. So Walker said BMR is your base metabolic rate. All that means is like, that's how many, an estimation of the calories your body's going to use to keep you alive if you didn't have any muscle activity. Like if you just laid in bed tomorrow and didn't move, your base metabolic rate is the expectation of calories burned just to keep you alive. That's what that means.
Can you elaborate a little more on that?
I can try. So essentially,
So
when
like
we do,
so from my wake up in the morning to the point to where I go to sleep at night, you're telling me that that's how much I should eat just to stay alive?
no,
if I
no,
get
no.
that right?
So we use your base metabolic rate plus the amount of energy that we expect you to burn on a daily basis for something called your total daily energy expenditure. Again, it's just another estimation that we use to set a target, and then we track and see how your body changes based on those numbers, right? So your base metabolic rate is just if you were to literally not move a muscle and your body's just trying to keep yourself alive and moving and just kind of efficiently alive, nothing else. That's your base metabolic rate. Once we
So
start
let's say I
moving,
wake up and I just sit on the couch all day.
yeah,
but I
and
eat.
you did absolutely nothing. You didn't eat, you didn't drink, you didn't move a muscle. That would be an estimated base metabolic rate.
Gotcha. Copy that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And once you
All right.
start moving and all that, we go into something called total daily energy expenditure, right? Because we're adding in your activity.
Gotcha. These are new terms, new numbers to me.
Yeah, no worries, man.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for explaining that to me.
You're welcome, man. All right, so we're going to move on. Next up, our client of the month, Mr. Andy Mack. Walker, will you take over from here?
Hey, check that out. All right. So Andy, you guys have seen him on here. He's the blood doctor, blood and cancer doctor that was talking earlier. But him and I have been working together. Gosh, we're coming up on right on a year now.
April.
And what I wanted to highlight just a little bit is him kind of working through cycles of like specifically cutting body fat and actually bulking back up a little bit, restoring his metabolism. And we're actually setting up for another point where we're just trying to get leaner and leaner, but do it over time. So the picture you guys see on the left, that was when Andy started. He started at around 176 pounds and we got down to like 152. So started getting some abs and stuff, right? Really good results. That was over the course of like 16 or 17 weeks. And then everything you see on the right here, you can tell. So it goes from top to bottom, but the top pictures are when he was actually weighing about 152. The bottom pictures are actually currently now, which just goes to show if you can trust, like if you can get to a healthy body fat percentage and then trust kind of bulking up, that it doesn't equate to you just getting fatter, and it actually equates to you having a fuller size. I think you can see it in Andy's chest and his arms and shoulders and stuff there, and his traps, and same with his back. So then I want to highlight him and a lot of the hard work that he's put in. And yeah, thanks, Andy.
No problem.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Walker. Appreciate it. Yeah, no, I just want to kind of just also let the group know too that I think Walker and he knows this, like that transformation really kind of happened at a very not difficult thing, but just a lot of transitions were going on too. So it's like, I think as long as you stay, dedicated and disciplined, to a reasonable extent, that was in the midst of parties, graduation, moving, like to many different states, like 3 different states within a span of like 6 months. So it was probably one of the more chaotic times of my life. But I think if you stick to a schedule and have someone to really kind of keep you going, I think it just goes to show the process and how much you can get accomplished despite whatever life throws at you. So,
Walking testament. Thank you, Andy.
Yeah, thank you for that, Andy.
No problem.
Awesome. Yeah, congratulations, man. On that note, we're about to wrap up, guys. Does anyone have any further questions while you have all of our coaches here? It doesn't have to be related to our protein talk at this point, but anything that you've just been needing to know. No. Nope. All righty then.
I'm thinking.
Jonathan, you can start recording.
Got it.
I'm trying to think of a question. I know I have one or two, but I'm trying to think.